Here's a video about everything that you need to know about filigree in engagement rings. We're going to discuss what filigree is. At the very end of the video, I'm also going to discuss a bunch of things you need to know before you go buying an engagement ring with filigree, because there are some things to be careful of. So we'll discuss that at the end. Firstly, what is filigree? Before we discuss that, I'll put a link in the description to the article we have on filigree. There's a lot of information. If you're a person that prefers to read instead of listen to a video, that might help you. But this video will probably help you as well. So we're gonna go through a whole bunch of different rings with filigree and discuss each one at great length. So filigree, simply put, is little bars of jewelry that have been soldered from one end to another end and makes designs in jewelry and also keeps jewelry together. That's simply put what filigree is. It's usually almost always handcrafted. Machines can't do such a good job at intricate filigree, and it comes in all different types of styles. Unfortunately, depending on the expertise of the jeweler, will determine how appealing it looks. Let's look at the first one. Firstly, here's a link. This is what our vintage engagement rings collection looks like on our website. As you'll notice, a lot of the rings in our collection do contain filigree. Genuine antique engagement rings and vintage engagement rings would usually have a lot of filigree and a lot of mill grain. We'll discuss that. Here's a classic example of filigree inside of a ring. Again, this one might be a cocktail ring, might be an engagement ring. But now look at these lines. My mouse, I have it visible for this video. As you can see, there's a lot of intricate work, folded and bended jewelry work, each one soldered to piece. And in this case, the filigree is not just artistic, but it's actually holding the pieces together. As you can see over here, the center diamonds, these three diamonds over here, are literally being held together by the filigree. Each little piece was first created and then soldered in place with little pieces of solder. And again, this is probably 10 times the size of what the ring actually looks like. So when you're looking from afar, you just see the beautiful designs. This ring was made in 1910, just for some context. So this is a great example of open work filigree, and the filigree actually holding together the ring, not just being a design element. Let's look at another ring. Here's another ring of filigree. In this case, it's not holding together the design so much. There's the metal over here, this V on both sides, that's really kind of holding everything in place. But the filigree, these lines over here, they're adding so much style to the ring. It's sending your eyes towards the center. It's lending a lot of the amazing design. It's all a part of the design. It's not actually holding the ring together. Let's take a look at it from another angle. You can see over here, the top side angle. You see all the filigree, and you even see a little bit of filigree work on the side. We'll talk about that later. Another example, and this is a fantastic example. This is an incredible ring. This one is actually sold. A lot of the rings in our collection go very, very quickly. We only collect the highest quality rings. So, when we find these beautiful rings, they're sold very quickly. Over here, you'll see that the filigree is actually curved. There's it's a very Art Deco motif where you have, almost like sun rays coming out of the side diamonds over here and going down the side. Similar to a scroll motif, but not exactly. But it's curved. It's really, really intricate. And let's take a look from the side. You can really see the effect. And from the top, now you'll be able to notice it over here, all the curved filigree. Let's look at the next ring. This is really interesting. This is a 1880. This is a Victorian ring. Again, the intricacy is not as much as before. You do see the scroll motif involved in the filigree, and another little scroll motif going on over there. But this is a very old example of filigree. Filigree has been in jewelry for as long as people have been making filigree. And not always is it so intricate like you see in Art Deco and Edwardian jewelry. In Victorian jewelry, you just see a very simple, minimalistic version. We have a double scroll on either side. Let's look at another example. Let's take the top look. You can't see any filigree. But now this is an interesting example. And this is already coming to a new category of filigree, and this is called, under gallery filigree. You don't see it from the top, but as you turn the ring on the side, you start to see filigree. Over here, it's not so prominent. it's almost like a crown motif going on all around the perimeter of the ring. You have this detailed work, and then underneath a little more, and then a little bit connecting. So in this case, it is actually connected. The prongs are connected to the filigree, so it is part of the structure of the ring. At the same time, it's not as dominant. When you look from the top, you don't see any filigree, and then a little bit of more inspection, you start to see it. This is a really interesting example. This is incredible filigree, little pieces of filigree connecting all the many diamonds in the center. This is an early Edwardian ring. You can see the gold and the platinum, both the use of both of them, and yeah, you can't see much from the side, but looking from the top, you see all this incredible filigree going on. Let's look at another example. This is another example of side filigree, and this is really interesting. Let's just take a look. From the top, you see nothing, and then from the side, all this detailed, line filigree work going. You have, diamonds all around the side underneath. This fantastic design, pointing towards the diamond. It's a great example of under-gallery filigree. Now here's a really interesting ring. This is an Italian ring. It's Buccellati. It's a designer from Italy, and again, you can see the filigree work over here. This photo, it's hard to see, but you can see filigree work. It's all connecting the yellow gold to the white gold, back to the yellow gold. So it is part of the structure, but you can see so much detail going on, and it lends such an interesting design. Most of Buccellati has lots and lots of filigree. It's a very, very common motif in Buccellati. Here's another ring, and now this is interesting because this one, the filigree is a little more complex than just simple lines. Usually it doesn't really count as filigree if it's a shape and with diamonds inside. But in this particular case, this is interesting because the pieces inside are all connected, all sorted in. So it's not true filigree, but it's very, very similar to filigree. And over here we have a little bit of filigree as well. Here's a very minimalistic filigree example. Just 1, 2, 3, 5 pieces of filigree on either side. It's fantastic. Let's take a look at the side. The side, not much filigree going on. I mean, there's connecting elements, but no real filigree. But the little piece of filigree that it has just adds so much to this ring. This ring, it's over 110 years old so far, so it's a great example. Here's another example of an intricate filigree, but not from the top. Let's just take a look at the top example. You don't see any of the filigree yet. You look at the under gallery, and you see really complex filigree. This is a piece of platinum that's been bent over 3 times and then curled around, and the same motif kind of goes all the way through, all around the circumference of the gallery. It's really an incredible example. Let's take a few more examples, and then we're going to talk about the ones to avoid. Here's more intricate scroll filigree. There's an Art Deco ring, and again, you can see a lot of detail going on over here. By this point, you should really start to really get a good feeling of what filigree is. Over here, simple filigree in the corners, and over here as well, you have some filigree. It's a classic Art Deco type of design, and the filigree just adds to the whole Art Deco feel. This one over here, let's just show you, it's a very Art Deco type of ring. Large diamonds in the center, very, very prominent symmetry, and then the side has like a nice floral filigree. So not always does the filigree even have to match the core theme of the ring. In this case, these are very, it's very Art Deco, and this is almost Art Nouveau and Edwardian, and yet they complement each other perfectly. I'm just seeing now you can't see the filigree from the artistic photo. And here's another example. This third last example. Here's a bunch of filigree along the shoulders, then on the under gallery, and then back on the shoulders. Plenty to look at on the side of this ring. Lots of filigree, and it really it adds to the whole image. This is interesting, and this you'll see a lot. You have a very elongated aquamarine ring, and then on the side, really complex filigree. So much going on, so much handcrafted detail going on the undergallery. And you see a lot of the high quality rings will contain this very, very intricate undergalleries with lots of filigree, and this is just characteristic of a ring with a lot of effort and a lot of detail gone into it. And the last example, another undergallery example. Same thing, just a lot of attention to detail. Let's just take a look over here. You see so much filigree, and it's a lot of work to make these filigree, and this is handcrafted. So, the jeweler that makes these, they went to a lot of work. They didn't just, you know, just make the ring and walk away. They put a lot of attention to the detail. Now I'm just going to show you two rings where, examples of what to look out for in regards to filigree. Here's a classic example of filigree. I found this on Google, an image. You can see over here the filigree is not matching up properly. The sizes are different. It's been done a little carelessly. This is a great example of what to look out when you're looking for filigree. You want to make sure the filigree is matched up nicely with each other and that the sizes are all identical, because usually filigree is in pairs. It's always symmetrical against something else. If it's the undergallery, it's this side versus that side. If it's on the shoulders, it's this side versus this side. You always want to make sure that it's matched up and it's nicely created. It's not sloppy. And here's another example. This filigree could have looked nice originally, but you see over here that the time hasn't done many favors to this filigree, and sometimes you got to watch out, and sometimes also you see harsh bumps inside the filigree, and usually that's a sign that the jeweler didn't finish off the filigree properly. They kind of just they made it or soldered it together but didn't sand it off properly. So there's two things to be very careful about with filigree. And also you want to make sure that the filigree itself is properly connected. Over here you can see the filigree, each one's been soldered in place absolutely. It's perfect. Everything's symmetrical, everything's perfect in this. You want to make sure there's nothing loose. Firstly, it could poke you or grab things, and secondly, it could fall apart. So you want to make sure when looking at a ring that all of it's properly finished off. That the jeweler went to the effort to make sure that it's that the attention to detail was taken care of, and each one is properly put in place to perfection. If you want to learn more about filigree, like I said at the beginning, we have an article on our website, statediamondjewelry.com. I'll put it in the description below. You'll be able to learn everything you could possibly want to know about filigree. If you like this video, thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and feel free to leave comments and questions. We answer our questions on YouTube, so feel free to ask what